Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Montreal jazz pianist and composer François Bourassa. We talked to him from his base these days in France about his debut solo CD released here in 2021. After 10 albums of original music, he's become an ambassador for Quebec's thriving jazz community at an international level. His award-winning quartet has been a staple of Montreal's artistic landscape since the early 80s. He's branching out now. He's got a great story. Enjoy.
Hey, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Let me talk to you about L'Impact du Silence. Let me talk a little bit about this release during a global pandemic. Did you have any thoughts about doing this at a different time, or how are you feeling about this coming out during this particular time in our human history?
It's been a couple of years. I was planning to do a solo album anyway. Since maybe 5 years, I was always saying to myself, I should do a solo record. And then when like in January, I called the studio for available time, and they said in September, we have like 2 days in September. And I said, okay, I'll book it. And then the pandemic arrived after. So I was anyway going to do it, but I got just more time to work on the solo music because I couldn't play with my quartet anymore. Because I was supposed to have a tour in Europe, and it was canceled, and I was supposed to have jazz festivals. Everything was canceled. So I concentrate on the music, but it was not because of the pandemic that I recorded the solo album. I already planned it since many years.
It's a wonderful album, and I know I really enjoyed it. So I'm wondering, what are you hoping the audience and those that buy and download this get from this album?
Well, it's hard to tell me. I wanted to please me first, like to do my own experiment and to try like different textures and harmonically searching for new colors and all that kind of stuff that I love. And I was saying to myself, if I like it myself, maybe people will like it. But the first point was to be satisfied with my work. You know, I was not really thinking about how the audience will respond or anything like that. I was just trying to go in my own development, personal research.
Staying in the hyper present right here, what are you missing the most from that old world, say in March of last year, that you're looking forward to getting back to once these vaccines spread and we start getting back to live music?
Well, what I need most was playing with my band and playing with other people, like even jam sessions, you know, like just to play with people and exchange and have complicity with interaction with other musicians. That's the hardest thing. And then after that, that's the gigs, that's the concerts, the clubs, everything. So it's like two things. We couldn't play even at home, and we couldn't even play live. So yeah, it was very hard, and it's still hard. Anyway, it's not resolved now, but we hope it's going to be soon. Yeah, played a lot on my music. Yeah, on the piano.
I understand. Yeah. So what are you hoping we get from this long absence away from live music? Any levels of appreciation or anything that you hope that the audience and the musician gets from this time away?
I don't know. For me, I think everybody will be so excited. I'm speaking for me when we will start to play again in front of audience and play live music and play with other musicians. I think there will be a rare energy and a rare pleasure, and I don't know. It will be. I think it's going to be very exciting because we miss so much. But I don't know. It's going to be weird though at first. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Certainly. So talk to me about early influences in your desire to get into jazz. How did all of this begin for you?
I always played music. I started classical piano when I was young, from 8 to 12. Then I switched to guitar. I played rock and blues as a teenager until 17. I quit the piano for 5 years. So I played like in rock bands with my friends, and then came back to the piano around 17. And did some classical and start to listen to jazz and discover like all the greats like Bill Evans, Monk, Coltrane, Keith Jarrett, but I decided to do studies in composition, classical composition. So I have that mix of influence, like the jazz part, and also the classical influence, 20th century music, because I did a bachelor, or you say that, a degree?
Yeah.
In classical composition, contemporary music. So of course that influenced me. But I did a master at Boston, New England Conservatory after my composition studies. So I'm always between, like the classical, the modern music, and like I would say Bartok or Scriabin or all those great, and also the jazz field. So that's kind of my influence, yeah.
So what was one of the first live jazz shows you ever saw that really, really inspired you and made you think that would be something you want to do?
I remember exactly when. It's in 1980 or 1980 when I saw Gary Burton in Chicory. I was like 20, and I couldn't believe it. The impact that night, I always remember. But there's many others after. I saw Bill Evans later that year, just before he died. But I remember that Chicory and Gary Burton was like a boom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, I saw many shows. Yeah.
Well, and you've been around. You played with a lot of heavy hitters over the years. What have they taught you that you, in turn, have taught younger players that you've been around?
It depends. I would say Bill Evans is the musicality, like the introspection. Keith Jarrett is more like the virtuoso thing. Coltrane is like the enormous passion, like the work and the dedication. So I don't know if really like Paul Blaze, like more intimate, more adventurous. It depends. There's so many great players and different styles. So I've been influenced by different great players for sure, for their own specific strength.
So as jazz musicians emerge out of this pandemic and we do start playing music live and start getting away from COVID-19, what do you hope the jazz community, like, how do you see the jazz community being stronger after this?
I think people will be maybe more aware of the beauty of the music, like the importance, how important it is, and how we miss it. For me, I miss like the shows and the music so much. So I don't know if for the people it will like make them more sensitive about that art, the improvisation and spontaneity of that music, like be more receptive. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
What do you like the best about being a professional musician?
Well, in the jazz thing is the freedom, of course. To be able, in the jazz field, it's to be able to play with different people, even people we don't know, like in a jam session, so meet people easily. For me, it's more easy to meet people, musicians in the jazz field because of the spontaneity and because we have like a common language, like the standard repertoire. I can arrive like in Paris, go in a jam session and play The Song Is You with some people I don't know and discover them. So it's like the surprise of that music that it's amazing.
So let's say you come to Kansas City to play a live show, and you have to describe to me. Yeah, it'd be wonderful. And you had to describe what your show might be like to a live audience. How would you describe it?
Well, it depends. If it's solo, is it quartet or solo? Quartet, it's a big energy band. The sax player is like in the Coltrane influence. It's very lively. My piano solo is more introspective, more quiet, more subtle in a way, but I like both, but the quartet with the bass, drum, and saxophone, it's a great, because we know each other since many years, so there's a great rapport, a great interaction in the band, so that's kind of unique for us.
So my final question to you is this. Everyone has this idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, and your fans, but ultimately you're living your life. What's your idea of who you think you are?
Passionate, for sure. Difficult to please myself, always searching to get better. I want to get better all the time. Curious, discovering new music, and but having fun. Very important.
Wonderful. Yeah, I dig it. Thank you for taking some time out today to talk with Neon Jazz. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Joe. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Montreal, Paris, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to François for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.